It's Sunday, June the 16th, 1985, and a beautiful summer day at Hillsborough Park in Sheffield. And a very special day for the 5,154 competitors who have entered this year's Sheffield Marathon, an event which each year grows in stature and in size. The athletes call it the friendly one and have voted it one of the best 4 marathons in the country. For these 5,154 competitors, this is the culmination of months of strenuous training, a strict diet, a rigid regime, and today in Sheffield they have 26 miles of tough competition ahead of them, in a lot of running and a lot to run for. It's a tense time for race coordinator Tony Martin. He's been here since 5 o'clock. And here's the Lord Mayor, Councillor Dot Wilson. She's here to start the 4th annual Sheffield Marathon. To welcome her, Richard Heath, chairman of the Sheffield branch of the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, the charity which will benefit today to the tune of £20,000. A last-minute word between Trevor Hawes and BBC Radio Sheffield's Bob Jackson. Trevor's won the last 2 Sheffield marathons and must start a hot favourite today. He trains on a diet of lager and jelly beans. The start is now only minutes away. Race organiser Alan Hall must make sure that all the starters are properly lined up and ready to start on time. This is a great sporting and social occasion, a time for renewing acquaintances from other events. Some runners will compete in as many as 20 or more marathons in a year. This is the culmination of 12 months of work for Alan Hall and his hard-working committee. In fact, they'll be starting planning for the 1986 marathon within a week or 2 of this race being completed. A tense time for the competitors, a busy time for the camera crews. Looking down on this mass of faces are the VIPs on the open-topped double-decker bus. There's Jill Saxby, Sheffield's own Miss Great Britain, adding a touch of glamour to the occasion. Alan Hall looks at his watch. Time's getting close. Competitors are on edge, roaring to go.
Sheffield Marathon, sponsored by the City of Sheffield.
Now it's time for the countdown to begin, and the Lord Mayor's ready to start Sheffield's biggest ever marathon race. And they're off. And what a sight. A sea of faces as far as the eye can see, and now all moving past, smiling and waving as they set off on their grueling marathon in the warm summer sunshine. For some, this is the start of a grueling 26 miles, 385 yards. That's the full marathon. For others, slightly less energetic, they'll opt for the half marathon, but even that's over 13 miles. Some won't even make up their mind until they're almost halfway round. What a sight. People from every walk of life. That's not the wrong expression. An endless stream of competitors. The young and the fit, the not so young, but very fit nonetheless. The whole spectrum of society is here. Teachers and nurses, postmen and policemen, solicitors, engine drivers, businessmen, plumbers, architects and factory workers. All have come together on this one big day of the year to compete for honour, for pride, for self-fulfillment, for the sake of taking part, and to help a good cause. And somewhere, there's a winner. What a sight which makes the months of planning and preparation all well worthwhile. And for the competitors, an air of excitement which makes all those early morning training sessions seem equally well worthwhile. And all along the routes there are crowds waiting to cheer on the competitors. For some, like these front runners, the race is deadly serious. But for others, it's less serious. It's a fun occasion, an opportunity to help a good cause. But now the leaders are forming a pack. These are the real competitors looking for glory in the half marathon, setting a cracking pace and beginning to open up quite a gap. And now, at last, the tail of the great column, the last to get away. They're not likely to be the winners, but for them, it's a good enough just to be taking part. And there's Simon Bristow, a familiar figure at every marathon collecting for charity. And here's the leader pack. There's Tim Leader in the front, 1607. He's from Sheffield University. And a couple of paces behind him, John Wetton, number 4000, in the white shirt. For the last 3 years, he's been the director of the Sheffield Marathon. Now he's showing his paces in another way. And while the main race continues, we switch back to the start of another race, the Fun Run, a new feature of this year's marathon and organised by BBC Radio Sheffield. This is an event for all those youngsters who are too young to take part in the main event. You have to be 11 to take part in the main marathon. And it's also for those who want to take part, but who aren't up quite to running 13 miles. This is just 3 miles, but enough to get a sweat up, and long enough for sons to show their dads who's got a faster pair of heels. Altogether, there are almost 1,000 people taking part in this year's new event. Next year, there may be even more. Excitement mounts as the start time gets nearer. And there's lots of fun and high spirits. They don't call this the friendly one without good reason.
Sides 1,500 people, this one.
And there's Jill Saxby, Miss Great Britain, ready to start the Fun Run. And everyone's roaring to go.
Countdown starts now. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And they're off. It may be only 3 miles, but it's still quite a haul. And it's quite a tester for those youngsters who may graduate to the marathon itself in future years. There's lots of waves and high spirits in the Fun Run. And bringing up the rear, a squad from Sugg Sports, young lady shop assistants on roller skates towing a bathtub and collecting money as they go. They're certainly doing one hell of a job. But now it's back to the marathon. Slowly the field is widening, but nobody's giving up.
Another circuit. A full marathon.
Hope so.
What time will it take?
Well, I'm hoping for just under 3.5 this year.
And here they come, still in their thousands. A cheerful wave from Graham Barr of Stocksbridge, one of a mass of smiling, sweating faces. The Sheffield Marathon is a test of strength and stamina for the competitors as it is a test of skill and ingenuity for the organisers. Months of planning are necessary before a marathon can be run through the city. Cooperation of the police is vital in the planning of traffic diversion and crowd control. The City Council itself must rely on the help of its own Parks Department to orchestrate both the start and the finish of the race. Volunteers must be recruited to act as route markers and feeding and servicing stations. Thousands of entry forms have to be scrutinised, and the paperwork must be formidable. Organising a marathon is certainly a tremendous challenge, and certainly Sheffield rises to the occasion. Police, council employees and race officials work together with volunteers from all sections of the community, aided by local radio and local business. And there's somebody who's already lost his shirt on the race, David Rands of Rotherham Harriers. And William Taylor, he's a fit-looking 52-year-old.
No, just the half today. Bit more training.
And there's the psychedelic runner, Paul Garner. But he's just one of a colourful bunch of runners. And here comes the leader, Tim Leader, having climbed the hill at Winkerback. He's going out on his own now. And there in the middle of a following pack, Ken Elliott from Charnwood Athletic Club. And there I can see Tim Murray in yellow. And Gary Drew in light blue, all feeling the strain after one of the steeper parts of the course. And there's the lonely long-distance runner, Tim Leader, running through Woolly Woods, a favourite practice ground for runners in this region. He's now approaching the 8-mile point, so he's still got another 5 miles to go. Can he keep up the pace? Welcome sight for Barbara Warwick. She takes a welcome sponge from one of the feeding and sponging stations, one of 12 along the route. Over 80,000 paper cups and 80,000 sponges will be used to keep the runners cool and refreshed. The time car moves through Ecclesfield with the police outriders riding alongside. This is a popular and sought-after job for the police, and there are always plenty of volunteers. And here are the runners again, with large crowds to cheer them along the way. And there in the centre, Michael Bergen. What's he saying? Do you want my autograph? No time for that. Time for more refreshments. There's Derek Forsyth, 42, of Roeheath Harriers, taking a welcome drink, and Stephen Smith, 217, and Fraser Wellborn in the yellow headband, and David Wickett, 899. And there's Marion Adams giving us a pleasant smile. And behind her, Philip Kay of Totley AC, followed by Harry Smith, he gives us a cheerful grin, Kevin Hopwood, Arthur McClarence in the green, Russell Cook, he's 19, Anthony Stevens, and Mark Eastwood from Hallamshire Harriers. And there's Robert Holmshaw in the white, Robert Dodson in the red from Hallamshire again, John Horton, and Terry Roberts. It costs over £30,000 to stage this event, which is far more than the entry fees raised, so Sheffield City Council steps in to sponsor the event. Here's Tim Leader again. Striding ahead, he's covered around 9 miles and shows no signs of letting up. He's a very fit-looking 23-year-old from Sheffield University Athletics Club and has a fine style. He'll have plenty of supporters at the university cheering him home. And who's going to catch him now? While we've been watching the marathon in progress, 14-year-old Jonathan Brown of Hindhouse School and 13-year-old Sarah King of Eckington School, both members of Hallamshire Harriers, have crossed the line to win the fun run. But the race isn't over yet. Here come lots more finishers, all being egged on to the finishing line. Back now to the marathon. It's hot going for John Kerrigan, and a quick wave for the cameraman from Stephen Hancock, from Michael Lowley, and from Kevin Smith. Here we're seeing just some of the 5,000 runners in the marathon, including, interestingly enough, 487 ladies attempting the half marathon and 33 the full marathon. And here's one of them, Carol Bourne in the red of Hallamshire Harriers. And coming up behind her, Brian Greaves, Dennis Webster, Trevor Squires and Simon Woodhouse. He's the big guy in the middle. And here's William Potter doffing his hat to our cameraman, a real gent from Barnsley Roadrunners. And hats off too to these finishers in the fun run. Anyone would think they were finishing a 100-yard sprint rather than a 3-mile run. More and more sprinting to the finish. Certainly it's a race that's living up to its name, with lots of fun for competitors and for spectators alike. In contrast, the strain's certainly beginning to show in the marathon. No doubt the runners are ready for the next feeding and sponge station.
They're going to beat 29. Well done. 29 minutes. The official programme on sale, price 30p.
More fun in the fun run. Although there's still a smile from 19-year-old Philip Childs, it's not such fun now for the marathon runners. The Sheffield hills are taking their toll. Will those aching legs keep going? That must be one of the thoughts going through the minds of Keith Dodd, Andrew Sherritt, Philip Burrant and Alan Scott passing us now. Welcome relief for the marathon runners at another of the feeding and sponging stations. Ralph Morton and Michael Fisher get a quick cooler from a sponge full of water, whilst back at the park, fun runners are still romping home. After 1 hour, 5 minutes and 50 seconds, Tim Leader is still setting a cracking pace.
Where's the Christmas tree?
It's at home, that's till December 25th.
Oh,
the important thing is there's 1,800 quid roughly for hospital. See me at 24 miles, it'll be great.
That's it, that's the spirit. You got the waste
back.
back.
Can we get no sweets for kids?
Here Tim is urged home by the crowd as he breaks for the split and for the half marathon finish. Tim enters the park to the roar of the crowd. Here he comes in to win the half marathon in 1 hour, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And Sam Carey, also of Sheffield University, carries on as leader of the full marathon.
Tripler hill. Yes. I mean, I've never run around the course before, but it really hits you.
Were you worried when you got to that hill? You were well in the lead, but when you actually hit Stock's Hill at Ecclesfield, were you all that worried that your legs might give way?
Well, I was feeling really tired, and you don't like to look behind really, because I know Rob had from Sheffield University with me is going well. So.
Meanwhile, in the full marathon, 22-year-old Sam Carey of Sheffield University is still in the lead. Can he spring a surprise? Finishers continue to cross the line at the end of the half marathon.
1442, 9217, 2121, 3053, 1549 in green coming up. .1861, digging in for the finish in 1 hour 18. Come on, keep it going, keep those legs. 1 hour 18. 4443.
And coming into the final straight, Simon Atkinson and Philip Bussey.
1659. 2645. The man in yellow is a 9 number.
And now they're coming in thick and fast. Robert Baker, Sean Moran, Terence Howe, Ian Poppleton, David Dickinson, David Allen, Paul Williams. And round the final corner, Peter Tidy, Jimmy Williams, Kevin Stubbs.
You're going to be under 1 hour 22. 278. 220. 1434.
And checking her own time as she crosses the line, Dawn Harris of Chesterfield, first in her class for ladies of over 35.
So not only are they achieving their behind, looking for his family. Yes, they're there. I wave to them. They've seen you. 1 hour 36:25.
Moment of high drama in the big race. 17.5 miles out, and Trevor Hawes catches Sheffield University runner Sam Carey. It's still anyone's race. But Sam Carey's looking a little tired, and Trevor Hawes is still looking strong. They're running side by side. But suddenly, Trevor Hawes makes a kick, and he's away. He moves into top gear, and it looks as if he's running away to win the 3rd marathon in a row. It's medal time, and a proud moment for Diana Senior, Barbara Bligh, and Glenn Law. And here Trevor Howard puts on his own medal. More finishers lining up to go and collect their medals. And Brian Gannon, 53, still smiling, crosses the finishing line with his arms held up in triumph.
The information tent has got a young boy, age 4. He's been there for 30 minutes. He's distressed. His name is Tony Henson. There are also a lot of other kids who are in the information tent.
Trevor Hawes widens the gap over a tiring Sam Carey as they race along Queen's Road. They're now passing the 18-mile point. It's only half a mile since Trevor took over the lead, but now he's built up a lead of over 100 yards. For some, the pace is now more sedate. For some, it's all over. But for Trevor, he's still piling on the pressure. Yet there's still time to wave at a spectator. At 1 hour, 45 minutes and 58 seconds, this is the scene at the end of the half marathon as finishers pile up across the line. Still well inside the 2 hours which many set themselves as a target to beat. Of the 5,000 runners, 3,467 come from Sheffield, 105 from Barnsley, 309 from Rotherham, 31 from London, 178 from Doncaster, 77 from Nottingham, 27 from Manchester, 8 from Liverpool, 113 from Chesterfield, and 1,400 of the runners belong to running clubs. 2 runners actually applied to run from New Mexico. The runners come from Steel City Striders, from the Police, from Hallamshire Harriers, from Rotherham Running Club, from Barnsley Running Club, from Stocksbridge and Stannington Running Clubs. Maybe it's as well to let sleeping dogs lie, but Trevor Hawes is now in full flight. Who can stop him now? While back at the park, they're still coming in, jokers and all. And now the moment of decision. For some, a final few yards to the finish of the half marathon. While for others, the start of another grueling 13 miles still stretching ahead. here Trevor Hawes heads up Cambridge Street. Whilst in the half marathon, the oldest entrant, 78-year-old Frank Dooley of Clown, makes a strong finish in the very respectable time of 2 hours, 6 minutes and 57 seconds. Frank has run in 10 years of marathons and is a former Army PT instructor. Runners are now spread across a wide area of the city. And here's Sheffield's own Bomber Graham. And emerging from Fargate at 2:09 comes Trevor Hawes. At a city centre feeding and sponging station, we see a familiar face, Paul Garner, the psychedelic runner, in the yellow hat. He's having a drink with Peter Booth and Gavin Miller, Richard Roscoe and Alan McKay. Coming in to finish the half marathon, Sandra Richardson, Lorraine Whitehead, David Lonsdale, Andrew Murdoch, Andrea Moore and Sean Hallett. Trevor Hawes pounds his way down West Bar, the epitome of the lonely long-distance runner, and not another runner in sight. And still they come to the half marathon finish, 2 hours, 13 minutes, 34 seconds. Caroline Liversidge and Karen Rowan coming into the finish. And now a marathon fairy, Brian Harrison, heads a group of runners down Abbeydale Road. And here's Hanif Mohammed, fiercely wheeling himself down Bramall Lane towards the moor, where dozens of runners are sensing that they're nearing the end of this, the 4th Sheffield Marathon. And at 2 hours, 22 minutes, 47 seconds, the lead car enters Hillsborough Park to let the crowd know that Trevor Hawes is coming in to win his 3rd Sheffield Marathon in a row. And there are huge crowds lining the route to cheer him on.
And now we've got the lead coming in 2 hours. Trevor Hawes is coming in 2 hours 23.
Here he comes, still looking strong and fresh, even after 26 miles. Today's event is his 17th marathon in 2.5 years, and after this success, he'll be starting to prepare for next year's Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh.
And Trevor Hawes, 3 times. By 30 seconds. And as he comes in, he shakes hands, he's round the Sheffield Marathon. He goes through the 6-mile barrier. And Trevor Hawes, 3 times in succession, a hat-trick. Trevor Hawes has won the Sheffield Marathon. He takes off his vest. He comes up, he's changing his vest, an old climb, an old one.
A very popular winner, and a greeting from Mike Thornhill, official start and finish organiser. And Simon Bristow still collecting to save the children.
And Trevor's a long way behind.
Gritting his teeth to come in a well-earned second, Stephen O'Callaghan, a 33-year-old detective sergeant from Leeds. Two hours, 28:29. And very close behind, in 3rd place, Paul Blakeney of Sheffield Athletics Club. He's 32 and a lecturer at Granville College. And hot on his heels, Alan Gregory of Hallamshire coming in 4th. Yes, the crowd have spotted the galloping granddad and grandma, Beryl and Alan Dobson of Mansfield. They run in half marathons all over the country.
And now the half-marathon runners are coming in. They've seen us. And galloping granddad is grandma.
Certainly a big cheer for the galloping granddad and grandma. Here they come, waving to the crowd. Very popular with the crowd wherever they go in 2:31:31. Anthony Ridgway getting a ride on another granddad's back.
He shouldn't be allowed. Here he is. He's all back, carrying that lump on his back all the time. Well done. Very sensible.
Dora Hopkinson of Hallamshire Harriers. She's leading the ladies' field and looking like a winner. And here's a courageous competitor, Hanif Mohammed, coming into the finish. Yes, he's home in 3 hours, 9 minutes, 48 seconds, well inside the 3.5 hours he predicted earlier in the race. Well done, Hanif. Gordon Bembridge, 52, of Rotherham Athletic Club, taking a drink and being cheered on by the crowd. Here's one of the real characters of the Sheffield Marathon, John Burkill of Express Dairies. He and a colleague walked from Land's End to John of Groat's and back to Sheffield again, all to raise money for the hospitals. Here's Susan Foster, 22, with a charming smile. But here's someone in a spot of trouble, being helped by the Red Cross, who provide such tremendous backup for the marathon. Yes, it's Dora Hopkinson, the 42-year-old librarian from Granville College, coming in for her 5th win of the season in 3 hours, 14 minutes, 37 seconds. Dora took up running only 5 years ago and has local victories behind her in the Ernest Harper 10 and the Dronfield Half. This was only her 2nd marathon. She finished 10th in Sheffield 2 years ago. But this was the one I wanted to win, she said afterwards. Like the men's champion, Trevor Hawes, she wins a trip to the Berlin Marathon.
First, well done, Donald. This one all the way. At the finish.
Susan Foster, now running again with the help of Martin Tasker and Paul Mills. And a final look at the finishing line before we go over to the presentation of prizes by Tim Sugg and Richard Heath.
From the Sheffield University Club, the winner of the 1985 half marathon, Tim Leader. For the Woodcock voucher is Robin Bergstrand, a colleague of Tim's, coming in at 1 minute, 9 minutes, 12 from the Sheffield University, giving the university a terrific shuttle, Robin Bergstrand. Number 3, changing the location slightly, David Allen, who's come from Erden, Spain, and he clocked 1 minute 9:27, just fractionally behind Robin, but number 3 with Amigo's shoes, David Allen. Thanks a lot. Thank you, David. We have another David coming in at number 4, a 40-year-old. I think it's 40 for David. David Trickett. Thank you, David.
686 coming in. Is this your first or second marathon?
Congratulations, well done. Enjoy it. Last one, 611. This wasn't as hot as last year.
Number 7, winning a logo sweatshirt from the Rotherham Athletics Club in 1 minute 10:08, and that is Peter Nilles.
Congratulations.
Not very good printing here.
Peter Nilles. Sorry about that. Well done. Just watching and the finish. 154.
Well done. Again.
They say we have cock-ups. The last man actually came in and sneaked in. So I have humble pie. 2932 crept in. The last man in came in about 5 minutes ago. While all the presentation was going on, the message about the sweeper bus was, of course, that we have to take the sweeper bus a slightly different route before the entrance to the park at Broughton Road. So in the turnaround of the sweeper bus, the guy slipped in, came down the route and got away. So all we've got now...
55 Sheffield Marathon. He's a friend of Sheffield. He does tag it the friendly marathon above all things. The fact that there was a slight hitch on one of the points coming in today, he's dismissed totally. He said if it was 4 hours, as long as I came through intact, I wasn't bothering about technicalities. There's all sorts of jobs to be done, odd jobs, tough jobs, things go wrong at the last minute, and he's recognised that in the sporting way that we know of Trevor. A hat-trick, what can we say about a hat-trick? To my knowledge, in this context, it's a unique hat-trick in marathon running, and so words fail me in trying to assess Trevor as a runner and as a personality, except that he seems to come first in all of these things, and there couldn't be a more popular winner than Trevor Hawes from Swansea Harriers. Trevor is collecting the Stoll Trophy. He's also collecting the trip to Berlin ticket to have another go at the marathon. And in November, Trevor, we hope you'll come back to Sheffield to collect a special award to commemorate this unique hat-trick. Thank you, Trevor. Maybe we'll see you again, same place, same time next year. The time today by Trevor, for the record, was 2 hours 23.55, and trailing in, but not so far behind, still giving him a run for his money at number 2, collecting a portable television set, is the always popular Stephen O'Callaghan from Valley Spiders. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen clocked 2:28.42, and at 2:28.51, which is a measure of how close it can get, coming in number 3 and collecting a full shave is Paul Blakeney from Sheffield. Blakeney. Computer has stuttered again. It should be Paul Blakeney.
the man who runs to Gravel College every day, runs around the city area at lunchtime, and runs home to Mosborough every night. So there's a way to do it. Well done, Paul. Section picking a strip T-shirt as a prize from Chesterfield again is Don Harris. Yeah, Don. We'll keep Don here, save her legs. We're into the age group 35 to 44. Of course, she doesn't look a day near it at all as Dawn, but she's picked up number 1 in this age group, a headline frank to Dawn Harris. And number 2 in this age group, winning a C&E voucher, is Carol Moore.